I expected him to know what I wanted without saying it. He felt confused and left. Hey Reddit, longtime lurker on this app, but this is actually my first time posting. I'm in a bit of a dilemma and I don't know what to do. I thought I was clear enough, but I realize now that I wasn't. My marriage is on the verge of ending, and I feel very horrible because I know that it's all because of me, and I don't know what to do. I need to fix it. I want to fix it, and I need you guys' help to fix it because everyone has turned their backs on me. I'm a lonely woman, and I really don't know what to do. I'm so confused. My name is Emily, and I'm 30 years old. My husband's name is Oliver, and he's 29. We've been together since high school, but we've only been married for 2 years. We've known each other for what feels like forever. Back then, everything just seemed so simple and natural. We were always the couple that everyone else envied. We had that kind of connection that people dream about, like we were two halves of the same whole, perfectly fitting together in every way. Things were always great between us, and I mean it. We had such a strong emotional connection, and I think that's the only reason why we stayed together all the way from high school. We just worked out, like we fit together like the two missing pieces in a puzzle. We were just perfect for each other. Everything was just so great between us in the beginning. We both have good jobs with good pay. He earns more than I did, but I also have a good job that I am proud of. We don't have any kids yet, but we were planning on trying for some soon. We were so excited about starting a family together. We even own a house, and we have paid off all the debts on it. So, you can see that things were really great between us. We had it all: love, stability, shared goals, and dreams. I honestly thought we were unbreakable, but now everything feels like it's slipping through my fingers. It's like we're speaking different languages, and the person I used to be able to read like a book now feels like a complete stranger. And I've come to realize that a lot of our problems stem from me expecting Oliver to know what I want without me saying it. I always believed that if he truly loved me, he'd just know. But I see now that's not how relationships work, and it has destroyed us more than I ever imagined. I expected Oliver to know my needs, my wants, and even my thoughts without me having to voice them. I expected him to know everything, to be aware of everything, to be able to guess what was going on in my mind without me even saying a word. It felt like that was the essence of love to me. If he truly loved me, he'd just know. I never thought about how impossible that expectation was, how unfair I was being to him. He wasn't a mind reader, but I held him to those standards anyway. Whenever I got angry, upset, or withdrawn, I expected him to know why and to react in exactly the way I wanted, without me having to explain it. If I came home visibly or even subtly upset after a tough day at work, I needed him to notice, but without me saying anything. I wanted him to comfort me, to ask me the right questions, to just be there in a way that soothed my anger or distress. But often he didn't. Sometimes he was oblivious because he had his own concerns or was exhausted from his own job. Other times he would ask, "Is everything okay?" But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted him to probe deeper without me giving any clues, and when he didn't, I would snap or make a snide remark about how he wasn't paying attention to me. Then there were the dates, important and stupid ones. I wanted Oliver to remember all the special moments in our relationship, not just the big ones like anniversaries or birthdays, but the smaller and insignificant ones too. The date of our first rock climbing trip, the time we first met each other's friends, or the first movie we watched together. All these little memories mattered so much to me, and I expected them to matter just as much to him. I felt like if he loved me, he would treasure all these moments the way I did. But when he didn't recall them, or forgot to mention them on certain days, I took it personally. I'd feel unimportant and unloved, and I was convinced that he didn't care about us as much as I did. Another thing that hurt was when I needed comfort, especially in moments of insecurity or vulnerability. Instead of asking for what I needed, I waited. I expected Oliver to sense my emotional state, to intuitively know that I wanted to be close, to be held, or to initiate intimacy. I didn't express this, though, because I thought love meant he would just know, and when he didn't, when he failed to pick up on my cues, I would feel rejected. I would start to doubt his love for me, because I thought that if he really loved me, he would understand without me needing to say it. Even in our daily life, I expected him to notice when things needed to be done around the house without me asking. Even though he had a busy work schedule, often working much more than I did, I felt like he should always see when things were messy or undone and immediately help out. When he didn't, I resented him. I'd clean up, do the chores on my own, but I would silently resent him for his lack of initiative. I would want him to see my frustration in my movements or in my silence, to pick up on my need for help without me explicitly stating it. The worst part was my silent moods. I expected Oliver to understand what was bothering me without me having to explain it. I thought he should be able to decipher my emotions, to know why I was angry or upset just by observing me. Even when he'd ask if something was wrong, I would always respond with nothing, because I believed he should already know. I was so frustrated with him when he didn't press further, and I interpreted his lack of persistence as a sign that he didn't care. In reality, I was building walls between us by not letting him in, but at the time, all I could think was, he just doesn't love me enough to know what's going on. Even when it came to planning something as simple as a vacation or a weekend getaway, I would fall into the same pattern of expecting Oliver to read my mind. I often had specific ideas about where I wanted to go or what activities I wanted to do, but instead of just telling him what I had in mind, I would keep quiet, waiting for him to suggest exactly what I was thinking. I expected him to know my tastes, my preferences, and what I enjoyed, without me having to say anything. When his suggestions didn't align with what I secretly wanted, I'd feel disappointed. But rather than express my feelings calmly, I would either say nothing and stew in silence, or I would call him out in a rude, frustrated way, as if he had intentionally ignored my wishes. It didn't matter if he had been trying his best to plan something nice. I would zero in on the fact that it wasn't exactly what I wanted, even though I hadn't even told him what that was in the first place. It wasn't just about vacations or trips either. Birthdays, holidays, and special occasions were the same. I would have a particular gift in mind, something that I really wanted, but I wouldn't tell him. Instead, I would expect him to just know what I wanted, based on hints or some unspoken understanding that I thought we had. When he would give me something different, still thoughtful, but not what I had been dreaming of, I would be crushed, and I wouldn't hide my disappointment. I'd get angry, acting as though he didn't care enough about me to get it right, when in reality he was trying his best, but my stupid expectations were setting him up to fail every time. What made it worse was that I always expected Oliver to be the one to fix things whenever we fought. I never wanted to be the first to apologize or make the first move to resolve an argument. Even when it was my fault, or when I knew I had overreacted, I would still wait for him to come to me, to apologize, and to smooth things over. I expected him to sense that I was still upset, even if I hadn't said that clearly, and to make the first step toward reconciling. In my mind, if he truly loved me, he would always be the one to extend the olive branch. There were times when we had arguments that weren't even big, but they escalated simply because I refused to let go of my hurt feelings or admit that I might have been wrong. I would wait for him to apologize, even when I knew deep down that I was the one being unreasonable. I thought it was his job to always be the one to resolve things, and when he didn't, or when he was tired of always being the one to apologize, I would feel even more upset and would think that he didn't care enough about me to make things right. Oliver became increasingly confused and withdrawn. He didn't understand what I needed or how to make me happy because I wasn't communicating. He would often ask me to tell him what was wrong or what I needed, but I would brush him off because I thought that if he really loved me, he wouldn't have to ask. The more he tried to reach out, the more I pushed him away. Every letdown felt like a personal attack on me, and I took it as proof that he didn't love me as much as I thought he did. As a result, our arguments got worse. What started as little misunderstandings over forgetting dates or chores grew into bigger fights. He would tell me he was trying but didn't know what I wanted, and I would get even angrier because he should already know. He became more distant because he was unsure of how to please me or meet my needs. I could feel him pulling away, but instead of addressing the root of the issue, my inability to communicate, I blamed him for the emotional gap between us. He started to pull back emotionally, and I noticed it right away. It was subtle at first, like small shifts in his behavior. He wasn't as talkative, didn't joke around as much, and seemed distracted even when we were spending time together. Oliver became more hesitant, walking on eggshells around me, unsure of what might set me off. He started spending more time at work or out with friends, rather than at home. I knew he was pulling away, but I didn't realize that my lack of communication had contributed to it. At first, I brushed it off as him being tired from work or maybe stressed about something unrelated. But as time went on, the emotional distance became more obvious. He stopped asking how my day was, stopped checking in on me as much, and it felt like there was this invisible wall between us that hadn't been there before. And that hurt me deeply, but I was also too stubborn to admit my part in it. I started to question his love and commitment. I wondered if he still cared for me like he used to. But I didn't say anything. Instead of addressing it, I held on to the belief that he should just know something was wrong and should take the initiative to fix it. I saw his emotional withdrawal not as a sign of confusion or exhaustion, but as him rejecting me. I convinced myself that if he loved me, he wouldn't pull away, no matter what. However, what I failed to realize in those moments was that I had contributed to this growing distance. Me refusing to talk, to voice my needs and desires, had created a cycle of frustration for both of us. I kept expecting him to read my mind, to just understand what I wanted, without ever giving him a real chance to know what was bothering me. Over time, the emotional gap between us grew deeper. We stopped being intimate, stopped laughing as much, stopped confiding in each other. Both of us became more withdrawn. He didn't feel comfortable enough to approach me, and I didn't give him the tools to fix what was broken between us. His distance made me feel uncared for, and my silence made him feel like nothing he did was enough. Even the affection that used to come so naturally felt forced, like we were just going through the motions. We were two people living under the same roof, but emotionally, we were miles apart. The final argument, the one that ultimately caused Oliver to leave, was over something so small, so simple, that it shouldn't have been the breaking point. But looking back, I realize it wasn't just that moment. It was the accumulation of all the unspoken frustrations and unmet expectations that had been building up over time. It was a Saturday morning, and I had this whole day planned out in my head. I wanted us to spend the day together, just the two of us, reconnecting after what felt like months of emotional distance. I thought it would be obvious to him that we needed this time, that he would just know I wanted us to be together. I never said anything to Oliver about my plan. I just assumed he would figure it out on his own, like I always did. I mean, we hadn't spent much quality time together lately, so surely he would understand that's what I wanted, right? Wrong. Instead, Oliver made plans with his friends. He mentioned it casually over breakfast, talking about how they were meeting up at the bar later to watch a game, and I just snapped. All the frustration, all the disappointment I'd been bottling up came pouring out. I accused him of not caring about me, of never prioritizing our relationship, of being selfish and putting everyone else before us. I said things I didn't mean, things that came from a place of hurt and anger. But at that moment, I was too wrapped up in my feelings to see the damage I was causing. He looked at me, genuinely confused and hurt, and asked why I hadn't just told him that I wanted to spend the day together. He wasn't angry, he was calm, but it was obvious that he was tired. He was exhausted from always trying to guess what I wanted, from constantly feeling like he was walking on eggshells around me. He told me that he couldn't keep living like this, that he didn't know what I expected from him anymore, and that no matter how hard he tried, it felt like it was never enough. I didn't have a good answer for him. I stood there quiet, still expecting him to just know why I was so upset, still clinging to the belief that if he really loved me, he would understand without me having to explain. But that wasn't fair. It never had been. That was the last straw for him. He said he couldn't keep doing this, couldn't keep guessing, couldn't keep feeling like he was failing me at every turn. And then, without any more words, he started packing a bag. I watched him do it. I was too shocked to react, too stunned to even realize what was happening. I wanted to say something, anything to make him stay, but I didn't. I was frozen, still stubbornly holding on to the idea that he should understand how much I wanted him to stay. He left. I didn't run after him. I didn't beg him to stay. I didn't even try to stop him at that moment. It wasn't until I was standing alone in our now too quiet house that it hit me. He was really gone, and it was all because of me. I pushed him away little by little. I've tried calling him. I've called and called, but he won't pick up. Each time the phone goes to voicemail, my heart sinks a little deeper. I want to tell him I'm sorry, that I understand now how much I contributed to the breakdown of our marriage, but I don't know if he'll ever give me the chance. I don't know if he's already decided that it's too late. I want to fix this. I need to fix this, but I don't know what to do. I've pushed everyone away, my friends, my family, so now I'm alone, trying to figure out how to piece back together the life I helped break. All because I couldn't say what I needed. All because I expected too much without giving anything in return. And I need to figure out how to fix this before it's too late. I don't want to lose him, but I'm scared I might already have. So, Reddit, I'm turning to you. I don't have anyone else to talk to about this. I'm lost, and I need advice from anyone who's been through something similar. How do I save my marriage when it feels like it's falling apart because of my own mistakes? How do I communicate better and make things right with the man I love before it's too late? Update. Hello, Reddit. You guys have completely torn me apart in the comments and in my DMs. Yes, I know I was wrong. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. I've heard it from every angle at this point, and I know I messed up. But what I need is advice on how to fix it, not if I was wrong or not. I don't need another reminder of my failures. I'm living with them every single day. What I want is a solution. It's been 4 days now. 4 goddamn days since he walked out, and he still won't talk to me. He won't answer my calls, my texts, nothing. Each time I try to reach out, I'm met with silence. And the longer this goes on, the more I feel like I'm losing him for good. There's this suffocating sense of regret weighing on me now. I keep replaying that moment over and over in my head, wishing I could take it all back, wishing I had just said what I felt instead of expecting him to magically know. I keep thinking about how things could have been different if I had been more open, more honest with him. But I didn't. And now I'm living with the consequences of my own silence. I keep wishing I had communicated instead of assuming Oliver would just understand. I wish I had told him what I wanted that Saturday morning instead of lashing out when he didn't figure it out on his own. I wish I had told him how much he meant to me, how much I needed him in that moment, instead of letting my own frustrations and insecurities tear us apart. I let all my unspoken expectations pile up until they became too much for either of us to handle. I keep hoping he'll come back. I'm hoping that he'll just answer the phone or reply to one of my texts, and I'll get the chance to explain myself. But deep down, I know that might never happen. The hardest part is knowing that I might have lost him forever, and it's all because of me. It's no one else's fault. So, like I asked before, how do I fix this? Do I keep trying to reach out to him even when it's obvious he doesn't want to talk to me anymore? Should I give him more space? How do I show him that I've learned from my mistakes and that I'm willing to change before it's too late? I'm desperate for answers here. I know I've messed up, but I still want to make things right. I just don't know how. Please, Reddit, I'm asking for advice, for any help you can give me to fix this. I don't want to lose him. What should I do? Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. First of all, thank you all so much for the advice, even if it was tough to hear. I know I deserve the criticism, and I've been reflecting a lot on everything. I kept getting bashed, and I probably still am. But I also took some of your advice to heart, particularly those of you who told me to give him space. I'm thankful I did, because after a few days, he finally reached out. We talked for what felt like hours, and although the conversation didn't end the way I hoped, I'm still relieved that we had it. It's strange how, after days of crying and agonizing over what I should say or how I could fix things, the final conversation was almost anticlimactic. There wasn't a huge blow-up or an emotional meltdown. It was just final. I've been crying for the past 5 hours. I ended up spending the night at my best friend's place. We hadn't been close for a while, but reconnecting with her was comforting in a way. She helped me take my mind off things, even though, in the back of my mind, all I could think about was him, or, well, my ex-husband. That's the hardest part to say now. Ex-husband, because he wants a divorce. During our long conversation, he told me that he was done. He doesn't want to reconcile. He doesn't want to try couples counseling, and he doesn't even care if I go to individual counseling to try and fix things. He just wants to move on. He told me that he's tired, so tired, and that he's reached his breaking point. I could see it in his face, hear it in his voice. He said he felt like he was always doing something wrong but could never figure out what it was. It was as if he was always walking on eggshells and he just couldn't live like that anymore. He told me that he was done with the guessing games, done with trying to figure out what I wanted when I wouldn't say it. He felt like he was always failing me, and that feeling of constant failure was unbearable for him. He said that he realized he would never be able to meet my expectations, no matter how hard he tried, and staying in a marriage where he constantly felt inadequate was something he couldn't do anymore. It was soul-crushing to hear him say that, to hear him admit that he felt defeated, that he couldn't keep reaching for something that felt impossible to achieve. And I didn't know what to say in return, partially because I knew, deep down, I was the reason for all of this. It's my fault, all of it, no one else's. So, yeah, this isn't the outcome I wanted. It's the furthest thing from what I hoped for, but I know for a lot of people in the comments, this was the outcome they expected, maybe even wanted. People told me over and over again that they hoped he wouldn't forgive me. Well, here you go. He won't forgive me. He won't come back. I guess I'm left here now, facing the consequences of my actions, and it's brutal. But I guess it's the reality I need to accept. I just wish I had realized all of this sooner, before it was too late. Thanks again, Reddit, but I don't know where to go from here. I'm just trying to figure it out. Update. Hey, Reddit, it's me again. Wow, I've been getting relentlessly bombarded with messages and DMs asking for an update. Honestly, it's wild how many people seem to forget that some of us have lives outside of Reddit. So, yeah, sorry for the delay. But I've been trying to navigate life while everything feels like it's crumbling around me. First off, I was super surprised when I stumbled upon my post floating around on TikTok. Like, I get that Reddit is a public forum, but seeing it in that context, definitely not what I wanted. So, if y'all could do me a favor and stop sharing it, that'd be great. I feel like I've been under a microscope enough as it is. And honestly, the comments? Just more of the same bashing. Whatever. I'm used to it by now, I guess. Here's the thing. Life doesn't stop just because your marriage is falling apart. I still have to clock in and work every single day, whether I feel like my life is ending or not. And that's what I've been doing. Going to work, pretending everything's fine while knowing it's anything but. Because yeah, my husband, the person I thought I'd spend my life with, doesn't want me anymore. He's done, and I know it's my fault. That's just been my reality. Trying to come to terms with the fact that I've lost him. And not only that, I've been trying to come to terms with the fact that I pushed him away. So yeah, that's why I haven't updated sooner. I didn't really have much to say until recently. A few days ago, I got served divorce papers. So, there's your update. I guess it's official now. I mean, I knew he was serious after that last conversation we had, but seeing it in black and white made it all so much more real. He's not just upset. He's not just taking space. He's done. For good. It's not for lack of trying either. Everyone has tried to talk to him. My parents, his parents, even mutual friends. But he's not budging. Not one bit. He's made up his mind, and I guess I just have to live with that. And the worst part? Everyone agrees with him. My parents, his parents, they all think I'm at fault. And honestly, they're not wrong. It's just hard to feel like the world is closing in on you from every angle. Because of that, I've been keeping my distance from people. I'm trying to survive, trying to make it through each day without crumbling, faking a smile, pretending I'm fine while internally I'm shattered. But that's what I have to do, right? I can't afford to lose my job on top of everything else. That would be the final nail in the coffin. So, I smile. I work. I carry on like my life isn't falling apart, even though it very much is. Honestly, it's exhausting. Faking that everything's okay when it's not. But what choice do I have? I've got to keep going, even if the person I love most doesn't want me anymore. Even if every day feels like I'm drowning just a little bit more. So that's the update. I got served. I'm trying to survive, and I guess that's just where I'm at right now. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. Hello, it's been a while, and I apologize for the silence. I know it's been months since my last update. Life, as you all know, doesn't pause for Reddit, and I've been going through some huge changes. So here's the update. The divorce has been finalized, and it was pretty cut and dry. It feels strange to use the term cut and dry because it hardly captures the emotional weight of what happened. But honestly, that's what it was. Straightforward legally, but heartbreaking personally. To clarify, there were no spousal support claims or disputes over finances. We didn't have children, so there was no need to address custody or child support. Financially, we had kept things separate for a while. Oliver was more into investing, while I wasn't really into that. Our joint accounts had already been separated months before the divorce was finalized. We each had our own cars, and they were in our names, so that was straightforward. The main issue was our house. We had bought it together, and Oliver ended up buying me out. It was a strange experience, to be honest. I accepted his offer because I needed to move on, and the house had too many memories attached to it. Everything just seemed to remind me of what we had, or rather, what we had lost. So I left, and he took over the house. I moved back in with my parents. The apartment situation here is maddening. The housing market is a mess, and finding something decent was nearly impossible. Thankfully, living with my parents has only increased my commute by about 20 minutes, which isn't too bad. Having my own car makes it easier to manage. As for Oliver, he seems to have moved on. I don't see him or talk to him much anymore. I've been keeping up with him through social media, and it's confusing. He seems genuinely happy, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see him happy while I'm struggling with everything. I'm doing my best to adjust. I should have updated you all sooner, but I kept postponing it, whether due to trying to cope with my emotions or simply not knowing what to say. The divorce is final, and I'm trying to make the best of my situation. Moving back with my parents hasn't been as miserable as I had expected, and I'm slowly adapting. So that's the update. I'm trying to live and move forward, even if it's been crazy.